Assalamu alaikum, Jum'ah Mubarakah. So today I'm going to be starting off a new series called Friday Blessings, kind of like a playoff on Jum'ah Mubarakah. And essentially what I want this to be is a culmination of miraculous and inspirational stories that people have experienced. I'm hoping that I can gather some stories from you that I can happily share anonymously here on the channel to give people hope and remind them of the beautiful miracles that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows on us. So today's story is a very interesting one. This story is about a man. His name is Abu Bakr al-Anshari. He was also known as Qadi al-Maristani. And he tells this story about what happened to him. So when he was living in Mecca, he was very poor, but he was known as a very pious man. People knew him to be like, having a lot of taqwa. And so one day he was wandering in Mecca and he was really hungry and he was looking for something to eat. And he came across this bag that had this very beautiful, very expensive pearl necklace in it. And so he decides to hold on to it because he's like, all right, I'll see if the owner ends up, asking about it. Eventually, there is a man that comes along and asks about it. So he goes to the man, he says, I found a pearl necklace, but I need you to describe it to me so I can make sure it's the same one. So the man describes it. It ends up being the same one. So he gives him back the necklace. And the man is so grateful. And he's like, okay, let me pay you for this. And he said, well, no, I didn't do anything. I just found your necklace. Like, you don't owe me any money. So he refused to take money for it. Time passes on. Abu Bakr realizes, what, I'm not having any success in Mecca, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go out into the world, and Allah's earth is grand and vast, so go seek provision in it. So he's like, all right, I need to just leave and go see if I can, do better elsewhere. So he boards a ship. And while he's on the ship ends up getting into a shipwreck, right? So he ends up going off the ship in the middle of the sea. And so he's floating in the sea and he grabs onto a piece of driftwood and he just holds onto it, hoping for the best, right? And eventually this driftwood ends up taking him to a random location, some island or something. And so he's marooned there. He gets out. He doesn't really see any people. So he goes and he wanders and he finds a local masjid. So he goes into the masjid. And he sits down, he starts reciting Quran, and the local people start coming to the masjid and they hear him reciting and they're like, wow, mashallah, he has such a beautiful recitation voice. So they approach him and they say, we would love for you to be a Quran teacher and to teach us about Islam and teach us Quran. So he ends up having a salary and a home, and he starts establishing his life there. And then as time goes on, he ends up deciding, I think it's time for me to move on again. Let me go look elsewhere for something else. And so the people don't want to lose him. They're like, oh, he's too valuable. We don't want to lose him. Let's try to get him married so that he stays here, so he stays settled. And so they come to him and they propose. There's a very pious girl that lives there that is recently orphaned, but she's a very good woman. And they're trying to convince him. And then eventually he is convinced. So he goes, okay, I'll go ahead and marry her. And then on their wedding night, when he sees her, she is wearing a very, very beautiful pearl necklace. And he is in shock and he goes, I found that exact same necklace years ago and I gave it to a man. And she smiled at him and she said, yes, that man was my father actually, and he made dua that you would marry his daughter after you found this necklace. And so subhanAllah, it just kind of goes to show you Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's grand plan and how it just kind of comes full circle. Like this man went through all of this stress and poverty and being marooned and his shipwreck and all that stuff, and only to come back full circle into not only provision and a wife, but subhanAllah, he ended up kind of almost inheriting the necklace in a way, right? So it just goes to show that we cannot always see the end of Allah's plan or what beautiful things lie on the horizon, but we should always have hope and faith that things are going to work out for the best and that Allah, inshallah, writing the best ending for us. So yeah, that was today's story. Inshallah, if you have a story to share, I'm going to go ahead and put a link below where you can anonymously submit your story, and I'd be more than happy to share it here on the channel and give everybody more inspiration and hope for the future. So inshallah, I will see you on Friday next week.